Okay, let's check audio one more time.
All right, check. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That might be a little too hot on the out. Check 1, 2. Let's get a relative level. So, Dan, once again, another splendid trip down here to Zionsville. You might notice that some of the players are large, some are small.
That's right, Jay. We should be in for it.
That's right. And that's the kind of observation that you're going to get from
right.
a crack broadcast crew. So, hold on. Let me tell Robbie here. We are up and feeding audio as well, so tell me what you think if the audio level is okay. So, yeah, we have to continue to do this for just a little bit until we get the right levels.
Yeah.
So, Dan, this is your first high school football game in how many years?
This is my first high school football game in 6 years, Jay.
Wow, 6 years. Now, you always say to yourself, for a guy that's been away for 6 years, was that voluntary? Was that court-ordered? And, you know, that's always good to know up front, because the one thing you don't want to have any problems with at a high school football game is trouble with the law. That's always, for me, that's the dividing line. If there was no arterial bleeding and no one went to jail, it was a successful outing, and that's what I'm always looking for.
Few to no concussions.
Well, we like to keep concussions to a minimum, incarcerations to a minimum, hard feelings to a minimum if at all possible. As you know, later on it's hard to come back from saying things you don't mean.
That's right.
Okay, so I think that with some luck they're going to be checking our audio levels here and giving us some feedback. But we are feeding from the Zionsville Eagles game. We're in just a few short minutes. We're going to be over at the craft services table. Where thankfully this, you know, and Dan, you have to be amazed, I know, from not being at a high school game for a while, the tremendous facilities that are here at the Zionsville Eagles Stadium. This is a spectacular facility. There is an elevator. We found out it is not a fast elevator. Okay, let's backtrack just a little bit. On the audio, let me see if that will work just a little bit better. Okay, that is our adjustment on the audio. And so we're awaiting from Central Station here. That was a little bit lower. Dan, your audio still okay?
Yep. Check. Audio, I hear you.
Okay, good. A little bit more down is what we're hearing, so we're going to go just a little bit lower. Right there is adjustment number 2 on me. I'm a little bit hot. Okay, excellent. That's good to know. And I'm going to go down just a little bit, see if that is better. And that is adjustment number 2. And with some luck, everything is up and running, by the way, on your end. Robbie, everything is totally fine, and now audio is perfect. So that is the current level we're going to go with, Dan, and look over your rosters there, and we'll be ready to commence the game here in about another 20 minutes as we are live from Zionsville Eagles Stadium. Thank you very much, Rob. What you want to basically try and do is get the action. So, and you probably don't think of zooming in and zooming out each play. You know that goes. So. Yeah, I know it'd be tempting to do this NFL.
I'm just going to keep it medium and sweep.
Yeah, absolutely. That's a perfect way to think about it. I think we have everything that we need. I'm going to get this ready here. Fabulous Bic pens. These are from France, the Bic company, BIC. It's kind of funny. After dealing with cathedrals issues for 3 hours, it made me hungry. And then basically, if you would just be so kind as to get, that's not like a perfect idea of what we've got, but that's, just as long as we're sending.
Take it in, get all the sidelines, top and bottom.
Yeah.
It's a little sweet spot where just in between too tight, too loose on this thing, so it's not jerky.
Cool. Yeah, you already did like the adjustment thing. I said, yeah, that's cool. And like you said, you'll get the feel. I mean, it's
As the band is taking the field, we'd like to welcome our guests from Lafayette Jeff. For your convenience, located at the northeast end of the stadium, at the north end of the home stand, there are restrooms and concessions available. Hope you have an enjoyable evening at our stadium. The officials for tonight's game, the referee this evening is Mr. David Harbaugh. Our umpire tonight is Kevin Thomas. Our linesman is Tim Robinson. Tonight's line judge is Patrick O'Neill. And the back judge tonight is Eric Sessions.
or something like that, you know, where it's like a real, maybe not Stairway to Heaven, but you know what I'm getting.
I always thought that Anagata Devita would be an awesome word.
Oh, it'd be perfect. Actually, I think I've heard Dan do that.
Really?
Oh, yeah, it's like the perfect song. Because you got that big the tuna section.
And one word only, and that song is Hey. I do not want to hear any other words. If I hear any other words, we will never be able to play the song again. This is your chance. The one and only word is Hey, and it goes for everybody. Hey. No other words. It's all good sportsmanship here.
Eagle fans, let's welcome the CYFL players to the field tonight, the future stars of the Eagle football team.
Some of them are really little.
Mr. East, do we have time for one more?
Yes, you do, Mr. Lano. What do you have for us this evening?
One more song, people. It's a song about being on the road. It's called Turn the Page. You probably know how hard these bands were.
Oh, it's ridiculous.
Yeah, the Pike, the Lawrence Central Band is they practice about half mile away from our house, so you hear them at 9:30 at night.
Yeah, we won apparently our band when I went to school
opportunity to thank Mrs. Linda May, the chairman of this year's Eagle Fest. Could you all put your hands together for Mrs. May? Mrs. May sends out a big thanks to her entire committee, especially the KFC Casino, for all of their efforts to make Eagle Fest a success this year. The starters for tonight's game. First on defense for Lafayette Jeff. At nose tackle, number 76, DeAndre Venters. The two ends are number 82, Desmond Williams, and number 79, Teddy Martin. The safeties for the Broncos are number 44, Justin Gordon, and number 30, Irving Madden. Corners this evening, number 20, Sam Collins, and number 10, Mitchell Sterner. At linebackers, in the middle, number 45, Tanner Collins. On the left side, number 56, Alan Trent. And on the right, number 21, Alex Galahara. And at free safety for the Broncos tonight, number 5, Woody Archibald. Starting for your Eagles on offense this evening. Entering the line, number 72, at center, Thomas Mattingly. At right guard, number 57, Levi Gelbach. Your left guard this evening is number 62, Monty Chester. Our tackles this evening, at right tackle, number 78, Josh Dunlop. Anchoring the left side of the line is big number 64, Kenny Walter. At flanker this evening for the Eagles, number 5, CJ Onyebenam. And at wide receiver, number 17, senior Ben Walters. The starting backfield for your Eagles, at tailback, number 6, Cole Witt. The fullback starting this evening is number 33, a junior, Matty Panola. And leading the Eagles at quarterback this year, number 8, Josh Hinkle. At the other defensive end, number 87, Nick May. The linebacker this evening in the middle, number 45, Zach Baker. At the right outside linebacker, number 27, Blake Coker. At the left outside linebacker, number 51, Mike Luce. In the back tonight for the Eagles, at corner, number 13, Jake Manuski. At the other corner, number 20, Brad Buckland. The safeties this evening are number 23, Benny Coker, and senior number 25, Ryan Tyler. Eagles won across the city and preferred a kickoff to Lafayette Jefferson and defending the fourth goal.
Well, welcome to football tonight. My name is Jay Baker, AudioSportsOnline.com, and we are at St. Vincent Health Field, the home of the Zionsville Eagles. And joining me is Dan Wood, and a perfect night for football, Dan. Usually in August we expect sweltering temperatures, but tonight's low should drop down into the mid-60s. It got up just a little bit past 80 today. We've got a light breeze, and I think we have a great night of football in store.
Absolutely, Jay. Yeah, it's great to be here with you tonight. Big crowd, home team, filling the bleachers.
Yeah, and we've talked a little bit during the last couple seasons about reconfiguring of these conferences. Next year, the Lafayette teams will not be playing in this conference, and we see across the way that, unfortunately, this team from Lafayette, the Broncos, are down here with very little support from the visiting side. But, yes, it's Eagles Day here, and this entire town of Zionsville has come alive and are looking forward tonight to see how the Eagles will do. The Eagles won the toss, they deferred, and they will kick off first. Ball is in the air, will come down right about the 10-yard line. It is grabbed by a Broncos player. Pretty good forward progress. They'll spot the ball just inside the 20-yard line, and the Broncos will get their first offensive tilt here. 1st and 10. That was Stephen Williamson on the return. We spoke to the Eagles coaching staff. They don't know what to expect from this year's Broncos team, but they did say that speed would be part of it. They have a couple of real speedsters on this team, and they said to be especially on the lookout for some very quick action from their flankers. Lining up in the pistol, the Broncos. The belly play. He tries to break it to the outside, picks up about 2 or 3 before he's stacked up by a number of Eagles defenders and forced out of bounds. At Broncos quarterback tonight is Matt Johnson, the senior, 5'11", 176 pounds. They're saying now a pickup of 3 on the play. He was pushed out of bounds by a large group of Eagle defenders. Early here in the first quarter, we are scoreless. The visiting Broncos on offense to begin. Once again, lining up in the pistol formation, 3 wideouts. The quarterback keeper, now the pass. They get the ball. It is complete, but boy, that was wrapped up quickly. Good defensive play there. Brought Joe Lipinski the senior defensive back in for the stop. Lupinski lost his helmet there. That gives you an idea of how quickly the Eagles converged on that complete pass. Will set up a third down and about 4 yards. The ball will be spotted at the 25-yard line of the Broncos. Broncos now will try to set up their first third down. The snap, the handoff, he tries to bounce it to the outside. First of all, looked like he had some running room, and he got stacked up in a hurry as the Eagles quickly converged on that play, and that'll bring up a fourth down for the Broncos. For just a little bit, looked like he might be able to get outside. That is Darian Green. He's a senior this year. We've seen Darian in the past, very fast, but contained by that Eagles defense, forced out of bounds on the far side, and that should bring up a punt as the Broncos on their first offensive series will go 3 and out. And a not very good punt will come to ground right around the 50-yard line, touched by the Broncos, and that will set the Eagles up offensively with very good field position. They're going to spot the ball right at the 50-yard line where it'll be 1st and 10 for the Eagles on their first touch of the first quarter. 10:51 to go here. Still scoreless in the first quarter as the Broncos got the ball just inside their 20-yard line, 3 and out. And we'll see what the Eagles can do on their first offensive series. At quarterback is Josh Hinkle. Hinkle under center. Hinkle back. Delayed handoff. Bounces it to the outside, and a good open field tackle there as Cole Went tried to find some running room around the left-hand side. Cole is a very strong runner, 5'8", 182 pounds. Cole is a senior this year and picked up about a 1-yard gain to bring up a 2nd and 9. One back in the backfield. 3 wideouts for the Eagles. The handoff. Up the middle with not a lot of running room. Once again, that was Cole Went. Cole was tripped up after a 1-yard gain. We'll set up a 3rd down and 8 now. So the Eagles face their first 3rd down. Eagles, by getting the ball at the 50-yard line, now find themselves in Broncos territory, facing a 3rd down and a long 7 here. Hinkle, under center, long count, rolls to his right. This will be his first pass. And they're going to say he caught the ball. A very good catch. Looked like a trap. That was C.J. Annenbaum. And C.J. gives the Eagles a first down, much to the consternation of the Broncos. I guess if we had instant replay, you might see that in super slow motion again, but the referee was right there, granted the reception, and the first complete pass gives the Eagles a first down. They are 1st and 10 inside the 40-yard line of the Broncos. 1st and 10 on the 39 as Hinkle brings the team up. I formation. Hinkle, quick pass. Gets some running room. An excellent move on the play. C.J. Annenbaum with the quick swing pass, and Annenbaum gives him another first down. They're going to spot the ball inside the 30. Looks like the spot will be at the 28-yard line. Another first down for the Eagles. So back-to-back first downs, and the Eagles are on a successful drive here. 9:08 left to go here in the first period. Hinkle will be under center, 1 back in the backfield. 3 wideouts for the Eagles with a slot back. Hinkle is going to try the swing pass again. Just couldn't quite connect. Pretty good coverage on the play. It was one of those fool me once, fool me twice kinds of plays. And they could not get the ball out to C.J. Annenbaum. And that swing pass falls incomplete. Will bring up a 2nd down and 10. Hayden Clark, the big tight end, will relay the play in. Eagles have an impressive offensive line this year as Hinkle lines up under center. Fake handoff, roll, and the complete pass. And speaking of big number 81, Hayden Clark pulls that ball in. A successful completion. And looks like he picked up about 5 on the play. They'll spot the ball at the Bronco 21-yard line. We'll bring up a 3rd down and a long 3. Eagles with the drive now, just a yard away from the Broncos' red zone. As Hinkle now verifying the call from the bench. Brings the team up, 1 back in the backfield. It's Cole Wendt with 3 wideouts. Hinkle, back to pass, quick pass, tries to get Annenbaum. Annenbaum had the ball briefly, got pushed out of bounds, and that pass will be incomplete. But good defensive coverage there, and that will bring up a 4th down and 3. And let us see what the Eagles will do here. The possibility exists, since the offensive team is staying on the field, that they're going to just go ahead and go for it here as they're signaling in a play. And they are. So they will go for it here. 4th down, 3 to go. Ball on the 21-yard line. Hinkle under center, puts a man in motion. Hinkle with the pitch. Wendt rumbles, and I don't think he's going to get enough. They dropped him. That was Cole Wendt, the big senior running back. And unfortunately, the Eagles, after driving all the way down to the Broncos' 21-yard line, turned the ball over on downs. A little disappointing after that nice drive, Dan. The Eagles, and certainly the fans here, heard the groan, but they just didn't have that point of attack block you need to spring that running back.
Absolutely, but you can already see the coach's point is well taken. You can already see the speed coming out of this offense. Annenbaum running around the outside to pick up that first 3rd down conversion.
Yeah, I think the Eagles have got some talent there, but a little disappointment there as the turnover on downs puts the ball in the hands of the Broncos on their own 21-yard line. And they end up calling a timeout. It looked a little bit like somebody went into motion or somebody was a little confused as the exact play. And I think part of it, too, is at this time of the evening, many of these games will begin, as the sun will set earlier, many of these games will begin just under the lights. But tonight we do have that variable light situation where the lights are on. Obviously, they won't come into effect probably for another hour as we still have plenty of daylight. But some long shadows across the field, and I'm going to guess possibly just a little bit difficult to see which play is being called in from that long sideline that the Broncos have to stare at. So a little bit of a problem there getting their offensive series put together. Some big Broncos players. One of them that especially stands out is Cameron Ulmer, 6 foot, 345 pounds at left guard for the Broncos. So there is some real size on that offensive line. Matt Johnson, delayed handoff. They tried to do the end around, but once again stacked up by the Eagles. Good defensive pursuit there from Brad Buckland, who dropped that runner in the backfield as they tried to get Tim Wilson, the senior wide receiver, on an end around. They've got the speed to do it, but some great pursuit there from Buckland. The Eagles drop him for a loss, and that'll be 2nd down now and 12. The ball at the 18-yard line. So back to the drawing board for Johnson and company. Johnson, delayed keeper, tries to find some running room, and it's no-go as he is stacked up, but I think they're going to throw the flag. He was stacked up by Jake Minuski, but Minuski, I think, got a little bit of the face mask as he was hauling him to the ground, and where Wilson Matt Johnson was going nowhere. I think they're going to get him for the face mask. A little bit of a discussion here with the referees. One called, and they're discussing it here. It was not a blatant face mask, but as he was being wrestled, Minuski had some trouble getting him to the ground. They called the face mask. They declined the penalty. They're going to just go ahead and take that loss. So this will bring up a 2nd and 12. Now they're discussing okay, so by declining the penalty, that brings up 2nd and 12. Broncos deep in their own territory. They've been using the pistol formation, one back immediately behind the quarterback, 3 wideouts. The handoff up the middle with some running room, gets hauled to the ground, though. That was Brant Anderson on the tackle for the Eagles. A gain of about 7 up the middle. They're going to spot the ball at the 25, but it will bring up a long third down and 5 here. On the run for the Broncos was Darian Green. We've seen Darian, who was electrifying as a freshman, a senior now. And Green is fast, but good defensive halt there by the Eagles. 3rd and 5. Johnson awaits the snap. Keeps the ball, runs around right end, gets some running room. He breaks into the secondary, squirts up the sideline, and finally gets hauled to the ground after an impressive gain as Matt Johnson went around right end on the combined keeper. And now a flag is down again as they had trouble getting Johnson to the ground. On the stop was Joe Lipinski. Maybe Lipinski got a little bit of that face mask. Let's see here as the yellow flag lies on the turf. But an impressive gain down to the Eagle 32-yard line for the quarterback keeper, and they may be tacking on some extra yards here at the end.
They were fighting down that line for a few seconds before he went down, so I think that you might be right. Struggling maybe just a bit to bring him down. Might have.
Yeah, now they're saying offensive foul at the end, so I don't know if they felt like he used excessive force at the end. They're going to go ahead and tack it on, so the Broncos accept the penalty, and they will tack on additional yards. A personal foul was called, and that will unfortunately push the ball up the field another 15 yards. Will put the ball in the Eagles' red zone. They're going to spot the ball at the 17-yard line of the Eagles. So that quarterback keeper, yardage plus penalty, really, that was a tough break for the Eagles. And now the Eagles have to dig in defensively. Johnson, 3 wideouts, awaits in the pistol formation. The delayed handoff up the middle. Eagles weren't buying it. Eagles stop them for no gain. That was Darian Green once again on that carry. So 2nd and 10. And the Eagles have to be very careful here because we did talk a little bit about that Broncos speed. And they are certainly in that Eagles red zone. I formation now as Johnson repositions his wide receivers. That was a busted play. He turned to his left. There was nobody there, and he got dropped in the backfield. So a sack on the play. Good defensive pressure there applied by Joe Lipinski. Lipinski in the backfield quickly on that play. And that brings up now a very pivotal 3rd down for the Broncos. They're looking at a 3rd and 13. The ball is spotted back at the 20-yard line. So the Eagles, after giving up that big quarterback keeper run and then drawing the personal foul, get a little bit of respite here. They're going to have to shut down this Broncos offense. Johnson with the handoff, and boy, that wasn't going anywhere. A great defensive stop on the play. Nick Maines, the senior defensive end, was in there in a hurry, stacking them up. That's going to actually be a loss on the play. A 4th down and about 14. They're going to spot the ball at the 21-yard line. And now the Broncos have a decision to make. Always early in these games, Dan, it's always interesting to see. We've seen teams that never punt. We see teams that have some great kickers. We have some teams that never, ever stop going for it. And it does appear that the Broncos will try a 39-yard field goal here. Ball spotted on the 29. Ball is down. The kick is up, but it never, ever got the proper trajectory. And that, despite an incredible drive, that will go for naught, as the 39-yard field goal try was no good. So we remain scoreless here with 3:37 left to play in the first period. And this really has been a chess match because both teams have driven down inside their opponent's red zone and have come away empty-handed on both occasions. The Eagles, after going for it on a 4th and 3, got stacked up. Broncos, after 2 losses in a row, try a long field goal and no go. And it's back to the Zionsville Eagles. 1st and 10 on their own 20. Hinkle, under center. The pitch. Tries to find some running room around the left-hand side. Breaks into the secondary and gets rumbling and stumbling out past the 25-yard line. That was Matt Panola on the carry. They're going to credit him with 6 yards. Going to spot the ball at the 26. That'll bring up a 2nd and 4. Well, a Zionsville coach said on the way up here that this is going to be a very interesting ball game, and it is, as both teams very evenly matched, scoreless here in the first quarter with 3 minutes and 30 seconds left. Hinkle with the I formation behind him. Hinkle, handoff to the tailback. He is stacked up, met a sea of white jerseys, and maybe even lost a yard, possibly just got back to the line of scrimmage. On the carry there was Matt Kramer. Kramer runs very low to the ground, 5'7", 160 pounds. He's a senior running back. And Kramer, unfortunately, unable to find any daylight. This will set up a 3rd and 4. Ball still spotted on the 26-yard line. Hinkle, one back in the backfield. He's got 3 wideouts. Hinkle rolls to his right, looks, tries to get the ball, and does, to a trusted receiver, C.J. Annenbaum. And C.J. gives him a 1st down. He's out of bounds.
And that
just past the 35-yard line.
Looked to be nearly intercepted by number 44 on the Broncos. Took a swat at it as
well,
it
I'll
flew
tell you
just
what,
over his head.
That's Justin Gardner, the senior, or Justin Gordon. And, yeah, there are some very quick Broncos defenders. So we're going to have to be on the watch that Josh Hinkle doesn't serve up an interception with that kind of backfield talent. As it is, the Eagles now 1st and 10 at their own 37-yard line. Hinkle with the handoff. Tries to find some running room. Once again, that was Matt Kramer. Kramer got a gain of about 4 yards there. They're going to spot the ball about the 41-yard line. Kramer is one of those old-school running backs. You give him the ball, his first move is to take that other arm, drape it protectively over the top of the ball, and he manages to power forward for a 4-yard gain. Eagles started this drive on their own 20-yard line, now just a little bit past the 40, 41, as Hinkle goes to work under center. Quick swing pass. Annenbaum eludes a tackler. He'll be out of bounds. He'll pick up another 1st down. Gets forced out of bounds at the 49-yard line. And that's another 1st down for the Eagles. So the Eagles now, with back-to-back 1st downs, have driven to near midfield. 1:52 left here in the first period. Teams are scoreless. I formation for the Eagles. Handoff this time to the fullback. And you talk about some power inside. Got a running lane. And that was Matt Panola on that play. 6 foot, 221 pounds. Panola is a junior. Panola's brother plays on the basketball team. And that nice run will put them inside Broncos territory. They're going to spot the ball at the 46. It'll bring up a second down and about 5. They set up the screen pass and could not get the ball off to Matt Panola. Panola out of the backfield. They set the screen up. Unfortunately, that screen never really materialized despite a very good fake.
Panola falling kind of awkwardly as he attempted to catch it. It hit him in the chest, but he was on his way down to the ground.
Yeah, just not in position to take advantage of that. Broncos were kind of all over him, so I'm not sure how much yardage they would have gained even if that had been complete. So a long third down now. A 3rd down and 5. As Hinkle now at the Bronco 46-yard line. Puts a man in motion. Quick pass. Has time. Tries to get the ball into Annenbaum and unfortunately could not haul that ball in. Just over his reach. And that will set up the long 4th down, and I believe the Eagles will punt here. Eagles are bringing their punting squad on with Josh Hinkle. That is the one thing when your quarterback is also the punter, always sets up the possibility of a little razzle-dazzle here. So let's see if that happens for the Eagles. They do punt the ball. The ball will come down about the 15-yard line. Takes a nice bounce. Eagles are going to be able to down the ball inside the 5-yard line. And an excellent punt from Josh Hinkle will pin the Broncos deep in their own territory. They're going to probably spot the ball about the 2-yard line. So unfortunately, despite a couple of nice early first downs, an Eagles punt, but the Broncos are pinned down deep in their own territory. They're going to spot the ball on the 2-yard line. So the Broncos on their 3rd offensive set. Their last offensive set led them to a 39-yard field goal, which was unfortunately no good for them. And both teams remain stalemated here as we are under 1 minute to go here in the first quarter. Obviously, the Eagles would like to hold here. It'd certainly give them back the ball in good field position. Quarterback keeper, and man, stacked up and hit hard. A number of Eagles on the stop, including Soren Didenda. Soren Dianda was in there, brought their runner to a quick stop as Matt Johnson held the ball, and that will bring up a 2nd and 9, the ball on the 3-yard line. Broncos have pretty much stayed with one back in the backfield, 3 wideouts. They tried the end around. It was a fake end around. Matt Johnson had to basically just tuck the ball, and the offensive line collapsed down pretty quickly, and no gain at all. So a 3rd down and very long situation, as that will be the final play of the first period. So this ended up, first period, not unexpectedly, 0-0. They said this was going to be a very interesting game from a standpoint of Zionsville kind of seeing what kind of team they had this year. And some great plays, actually, by both squads. But the drives that brought them down so far resulted either in turnovers on downs or missed field goals. And like the chess match that this game is, It is 0-0 after one complete quarter of play. So we'll put another 12 minutes on the clock as we get ready for the second quarter here at St. Vincent Health Field, the home of the Zionsville Eagles. It's their home opener against the Lafayette Jeff Bronco varsity football team. So we take our usual timeout because the chain gang gets a real workout. You know, if the quarter ends and they're near midfield, those guys only have to jog a couple yards, but they had to go down the full length of the football field as the Broncos are deep in their own territory. The Eagles would like to hold here because a punt forced here should give the Eagles excellent field position. Broncos started this game with Matt Johnson, the senior. 5'11", 176 pounds. And Johnson will one back in the backfield, three wideouts. Johnson brings him up. The delayed handoff, and that went nowhere. A great defensive stop after a very short gain. On the stop there was Riley Porfchek, and that will bring up a fourth down, and the Broncos really will be forced to punt here as they only got the ball out to about the 6-yard line. So they'll be punting from their own end zone. Back deep for the Eagles is Ben Kocher. Ben is standing at the Bronco 40-yard line. Broncos punter gets the punt off. It's a low line drive. Retrieved by the Eagles at the 50-yard line up to the 40, the 35, and just lightly pushed out of bounds, but enough to put that foot down on the white line. He got the ball down to the 32-yard line, so a great return there from Kocher gives the Eagles excellent field position. So the Broncos' second punt of the evening puts the Eagles in good field position. Zionsville will begin this one on the Broncos' 32-yard line, 1st and 10. Eagles go back to work with the I formation, two wideouts spread out. Hinkle, the pitch, tries to get some running room to the outside and stacked up. That play, unfortunately, went nowhere fast as Matt Kramer was hauled to the ground after a gain, actually a loss of about 3 or 4 on the play. Moving in very quickly was Irving Madden for the Broncos. Good open field tackle, and unfortunately, Kramer had nowhere to go on that one. So that'll bring up a 2nd down and 15. Hinkle has been under center for most of the offensive snaps. The delayed handoff and great power running up the middle. That's Kramer again, atoning for that earlier loss. And Kramer with a nearly 10-yard gain straight up the middle, drags a sea of white jerseys with him. And an impressive gain will bring up a 3rd down and about 4. The ball is spotted at the 28-yard line. So a pivotal 3rd down. They are listing that officially as a 5. So 3rd down and 5 here. Eagles with the I formation. They put a wide receiver into motion. The handoff up the middle, and not much going there. Once again, that was Kramer on the carry. Kramer ran from the fullback position and picked up about a yard up the middle. So now a 4th down and 4. The ball is spotted on the 27-yard line. And the Eagles will keep that offensive team out there, and they are going to go for it once again. So this is their second opportunity to go for it on 4th down. Earlier in the game, the Eagles turned the ball over on downs on their first offensive series. Let's see if they fare a little bit better here. 4th and 4. Hinkle under center. Hinkle back, quick pass, pumps, lets it go. Had a receiver. The receiver got held up and just couldn't get under it. That was C.J. Annenbaum. And unfortunately, another turnover on downs. And the Eagles could not capitalize on that incredible field position as they had gotten the ball on the Bronco 32-yard line, but were unable to get even a first down on that one. So a 3 and out and then a turnover on downs. I guess technically you said it's a 4 and out. We're so used to saying 3 and out in a punt, but that was unfortunately a 4 and out turnover on downs. And now the Broncos will take over 1st and 10 on their own 26-yard line. The pitch. Tries to get the ball outside, and a big collision. Lots of green jerseys in on that one. Leading the charge was Joshua Trewartha, and Josh stuck his head in there, brought the Broncos runner down for no gain. Broncos have some strong runners. We've talked a little bit about Calvin Green in the past, and they have some guys who can really turn up the speed. 2nd and 12, the ball at the Broncos' 25-yard line. Handoff up the middle. Bounces it to the outside. He's in the secondary. Out to the 50. Reverses field. Gets it down to about the 48-yard line. Once he broke containment, he got some yardage. That was Joe Lipinski that finally made the stop on the carry. Was Darian Green, the senior running back, a very dangerous runner. And Green gives the Broncos some life, a first down. They're in Zionsville territory at the 48-yard line. Matt Johnson. 3 wideouts. The swing pass, the reception, and he's got some running room. The stop on the play was Ben Kosher, but not before they were able to swing the ball out to Dennis Archibald. And they get the ball down to the Eagles' 40-yard line. It'll bring up a 2nd down and 2. Speed has certainly been a factor with this Broncos offense. The snap, the fake handoff, the quarterback keeper. It was a design keeper, and he'll be very close to the first down. Met a sea of green jerseys led by Blake Kocher, but it's going to be enough for a first down. Inside, they're going to spot that one down at the 37-yard line. First period scoreless, second period scoreless so far, 6:52 left. As the Broncos now with 2 first downs, they've driven down to the 37-yard line. The delayed handoff to Green. Green gets stacked up. They're going to stop him after a loss of about 3 yards. That was Josh Trewartha on the stop. Should bring up a 2nd down and a long 6 here. The ball spotted right about the 33-yard line. Johnson brings him up. The handoff up the middle once more to Green. Green was met by a wall of green jerseys. In on the stop was Didenda. So a couple of powerhouse runs from Green. And now the Broncos face a 3rd down. 3rd down and about 3. The ball just inside the 30-yard line of the Eagles. Eagles could use a defensive stop here as Johnson brings them up to the line. Pistol formation, 3 wideouts. The handoff once again to Green. Green bounces it out to the left, gets a first down and more. Green gets a first down. They're going to spot the ball at the 20-yard line, 1st and 10 for the Broncos. So the Broncos now back to the Eagles' red zone. Their last visit to the Eagles' red zone ended in a missed field goal. 5:09 left to play here in the first half. Johnson with Green in the backfield. The handoff to Green again. Green tries to bounce it outside, and he got tripped up on the play. Good defensive pressure brought there by Trewartha. Difficult to tell where the spot is here on the far side, but it looks like they held them to about a 2-yard gain. They're going to spot the ball at about the 19-yard line. So a gain actually of about 1.5 yards there, and that's really what the Eagles need to do is stiffen here. Johnson awaits the snap. Long snap to try and draw the Eagles offside. Delayed handoff to Green. Green eludes a tackler, but he's not going to. Now the ball is loose, but quickly pounced upon by a Broncos player. Green ended up coughing up the ball. Let's see if, they are going to say that was a fumble. And then a recovery, a very quick recovery by one of the Broncos receivers. That ball was loose briefly. They're going to mark the ball down at the 15-yard line. So that'll bring up a 3rd and long 4. 3rd and a long 4 for the Broncos. Green got lucky there as he slammed into some green jerseys, and now the Broncos call a timeout to make sure that they are on the same page. So the Eagles will get a chance to regroup here as well, as the Eagles reeling from this Broncos drive. This Broncos drive began on their own 26-yard line, and they're now down to the Eagle 15. Both teams have had long, sustained drives. The Eagles have gone for it twice deep in enemy territory, turned it over on downs both times. You have to admire them going for it. Not really sure what their kicking game is like this year, and this is early in the season, so this can help cement either a coach's belief in his team's ability to punch the ball in, or perhaps going over to the soccer coach and saying, do you know anybody that might be able to nail the ball out from about 40 yards out, because we could certainly use a field goal kicker.
Back in my days of playing soccer in high school, that was you would always see the football coach lurking in the shadows.
Always lurking in the shadows. And, of course, we know in the film Necessary Roughness, didn't they use, I'm trying to think of her name now, the supermodel? She was a good kicker, and they used her because in those films, anything can happen in a football game.
Of course.
I forget who it was, but it was, she was very attractive, and boy, could she kick the ball. So here we go. The Broncos, a very pivotal long 3 and 4. The end around. They're trying to get some running room outside. He's going to be stacked up, and that, my friends, was the defensive play of the game. As coming across from his cornerback position, Joe Lipinski dropped Tim Wilson in his tracks, and that will set up a long 4th down here. 4th down and about 8 yards to go here. They're going to spot the ball, and they're going to try once again another field goal. So they're going to spot the ball at about the 17-yard line. This will be a 35-yard attempt. Their previous 39-yard field goal attempt was no good. But from 35 yards out, the Broncos kicker, they put the ball down, and the kick is blocked. The Eagles block the kick. And just like that, they put the stop to that. In on the block was Nick Maines, the big senior defensive end. And there you go, blocked field goal. So how about this for a chess match, Dan? We've had a missed field goal, a blocked field goal, 2 turnovers on downs. What do you think the score might be after all that? If you guessed 0-0,
yeah.
You would be correct. That's where we find ourselves as the Eagles now get new life breathed into the system. The only thing up against the Eagles right now, besides a pretty quick Broncos defense, well, how about 75 yards and 2 minutes and 33 seconds? So the Eagles are going to have to make some forward progress here as Hinkle goes to work. One back in the backfield. Delayed handoff and gets stacked up and goes nowhere. On the carry, Cole Went really got nowhere there. In fact, they're going to say that he lost a yard. 2:16, and the Eagles are going to have to kind of get into a hurry-up mode if they can. They're doing this real methodical huddle, and I'm certainly no coach. I'm just an announcer, and I'm not even that great of an announcer, Dan, but I got to tell you, I would go into the hurry-up mode as quick as possible. So Hinkle under center. Long count. Rolls to his left. Now he's looking. He's going to tuck the ball. He's going to go for it. Quarterback keeper goes out of bounds about the 30-yard line. That stops the clock. That's good news. But it will set up now a 3rd and 5. 3rd and 5, minute 49 with the clock stopped. Ball is now up to the 30-yard line, so 70 yards to go for the Eagles. But that clock, that is not your friend this late here in the first. Make that the second quarter, but here in the first half. Hinkle brings him up, one back in the backfield. 3 wideouts. Hinkle. Fake. Rolls. Gets it off to his big tight end, who is not going to pick up enough for the first. Great catch there from Hayden Clark. But right after Hayden Clark turned upfield, he was met by some white jerseys. Actually, it's closer to the first down than I originally thought. I think they have called a timeout to get everything stopped. Will they call for measurement? I'm not certain. The 4th down marker and the stick are very close. So, yes, the timeout actually, Eagles got to save a timeout here because they are going to call the timeout to measure this one. And this is much closer to a first down than I originally thought.
Not quite.
It looks like they're going to miss the first down by the proverbial gnat's eyelash, which is a very small measurement only used in certain Eastern European nations. But, yeah, that's they're about 2 inches shy here of a first down. 1 minute, 41 seconds. Clock is stopped. The Eagles saved themselves a timeout there because the officials called a timeout. And now with 4th and just 2 inches to go here. Hinkle under center. Tries to draw him off sides. It's not going to happen. Goes back under center. Calls timeout. Yeah, I'm not absolutely certain what they tried to do there. Hinkle did his best to sell it. Josh Hinkle tried to do he did the Peyton Manning, where he starts looking around and yells SpaghettiOs and all the stuff that Peyton used to do. But
playing some mind games.
Yeah, they just were not buying it. So the Broncos stayed put. Still sets up a 4th down, 1:21 on the clock. So still a 4th down and just 2 inches. The whole thing is, you say, can we get 2 inches on the ground? I think they can. I think they've got a timeout. But, unfortunately, you got to go for a short yardage play here to be on the safe side because you don't want to turn the ball over to the Broncos with some time for them to score. So this is not a good situation for the Eagles. They certainly were trying to get that offside call. They did not get it. But a chess match is what we've got here tonight, a scoreless tie. And you might say, well, with a scoreless tie, it's maybe not been an exciting game. I'd say, au contraire, this has been a very exciting game. Both teams have gone up and down the field. We just have not seen that player punch it across for the points. So Hinkle does bring the offensive unit back out. I formation behind him. Let's see what happens here. 4th and about an inch or two. And I think now they're going to get an illegal shift on the Eagles as the man in motion, I think, turned back. No, there was movement somewhere else. At first I thought they did put C.J. Annenbaum in motion, and I thought maybe he turned towards the line of scrimmage too quickly, but somebody flinched. And this will change the parameters now, as now it'll be 4th and 5. The ball goes back inside the 30-yard line, and now Josh Hinkle will be punting instead of handing off or whatever play was designed there. So Hinkle back to punt at his own 15-yard line. A good kick will come down, goes out of bounds just past the midfield stripe. And the Broncos will have a minute 14 and a timeout left. They called 2 timeouts early on, so they don't have a lot of timeouts here to try and manufacture a last-minute first-half drive. Both coaches wondered what they might see here tonight, and they have seen 2 teams. Also, early in the season, it's just tough to get everybody going all on the same page. And both quarterbacks have looked very good in stretches. They just have not been able to get over that line when they needed to. So the Broncos, Matt Johnson lines them up. Empty backfield. He's got 5 wideouts available to him. Johnson back to pass. He's going to have to tuck the ball and run. After a gain of about 4 or 5, they keep him in bounds. So they're going to spot the ball, 39-yard line. I guess the clock did stop. It really did look like they kept him inbounds. They tried everything they could to keep him inbounds. So Johnson goes back to pass, has to tuck the ball, ends up running. It'll be 2nd down and 5. Ball at the 39. Broncos still have 1 timeout available to them. Johnson will line up once again, empty backfield. Back to pass. Quick pass out to Green. Green's got speed. Green gets tripped up, though. Great stop there by Brad Buckland. Buckland came up from his cornerback position, trips up Darian Green. That'll set up 3rd down and about a yard as the Broncos come up to the line quickly. 55 seconds and the clock is ticking, and the Broncos now in a bit of disarray trying to get lined up. There is some confusion as to even which play they want to run. 45 seconds, and they're still not in position. Still going to the empty backfield, but they had to reposition a receiver as the clock ticks below 35 seconds. He goes back to pass, gets chased out of the pocket, isn't going to go anywhere. In fact, he's going to end up going out of bounds. Finally, the man that put the collar on him was Blake Kosher. Kosher, see, the minute I call him Kosher, I find out it's Koger. Somebody should have told me. Let's go Kogering. Oh, that's the grocery store. So Koger. Thanks, Jay. Koger forces him out of bounds, not before he picks up a 1st down, though. Clock is at 28.9 seconds. They're going to spot it at the Eagles' 33-yard line. So the Broncos now still with an opportunity as Matt Johnson brings them up to the line. Once again, empty backfield, and we've got some very quick receivers on this Broncos sideline. Boy, gets chased out of the pocket again. Tried to bring the ball in and just couldn't get a handle on it. Was Tim Wilson. And even though Wilson, or make that Matt Johnson, goes back to pass, just as quickly as he goes back to pass, more often than not, he's being chased by green jerseys. And one of the guys in there is Trewatha. And Trewatha is a load. He is listed at 6'1", 235 pounds, the senior defensive lineman, and the guy is just fast and quick in there. So it's been tough for Johnson to get the ball off. 23.7 seconds, 2nd and 10 after the incomplete pass. Back to pass, once again, gets chased out of the pocket. Still keeps the ball, looks like he's going to try to pass, does. The ball is complete. Now they're having some trouble dragging him to the ground. stayed on his feet, got the ball down to the 10-yard line. The timeout is called. The catch there from Tim Wilson, the senior, will set up a 1st and goal. Timeout called by the Broncos. So the Broncos take their final timeout, 10.7 seconds, 1st and goal from the 10, and that was a clutch catch. Tim Wilson, who stayed on his feet after getting the ball and managed to pick up some yards after the catch. And it comes down to this.
While these Eagles are bringing very hard pressure, Matt Johnson has showed a very uncanny ability to avoid them and still make plays.
You know, that's actually a great point, is they're bringing the pressure, but when they flush him out of the pocket on that particular play, I mean, he's had some keepers or managed to get the ball thrown away before he got sacked. But that time he had the presence of mind to actually try to find a receiver, and Tim Wilson with a very nice catch. We've seen Wilson in the past. He's a senior this year. And the Broncos, I'll tell you what, they're a hard luck team. They don't have some of the talent that many of their opponents have, but they are playing scrappy here tonight. And with 0-0 on the scoreboard in 10.7 seconds, it comes down to this play or two as Matt Johnson brings them up. He'll have Green in the backfield with him. 4 wideouts, and the Zionsville home squad is yelling for that defense to hold tough here. Johnson, once again, flush from the pocket. He's going to throw it away. Boy, he threw it away, but there was still the Hail Mary attempt in the corner of the end zone. Matt Johnson has a pretty good arm. He's had pretty good placement here tonight, and that incomplete pass will bring up another field goal opportunity. So the Broncos have not totally abandoned the field goal, and the Broncos now will attempt another field goal, this one inside the 20-yard line. So this should be a 22-yard attempt. The last field goal was blocked, and the Eagles call a timeout. You know, you got to try to ice the kicker. You know that. Come on. You guys have seen Bill Belichick. You know what he does. He ices the kicker. So the Eagles call that right before the field goal attempt timeout. That is their due as the marching band is awaiting going on the field. So this one is played down to a 0-0 tie, but now a 27-yard field goal from the Broncos. The first field goal was missed by the Broncos kicker from 39 yards out. It drove down a few plays ago, tried a 35-yarder. That was blocked. And now, with 5 seconds on the clock, they're going to try it again. So the Broncos are going to try it again. 27-yard field goal attempt. The snap, it's down. The kick is up. Does it have enough velocity? It's no good.
Bounces off.
You know, I got to tell you, I'm a little surprised, and I don't know quite what the problem is. I'm sure the Broncos have some talented players, but their kicker is just a little bit off here tonight. 1.7 seconds, so the Eagles will get one last attempt here at a return. Or make that with the missed field goal. They'll get the ball back at their own 20-yard line, I believe. Though it looks like they're trying to spot the ball back where the field goal attempt was. Usually with a missed field goal, you get the ball at the 20, and now they're finally moving it out to the 20-yard line. Now, see, Dan, that may shock you a little bit that I actually knew the rule slightly better. Sometimes they introduce some new IHSAA rules, and I'm thinking, they must have slid that one in on me. So the Eagles will get one last try here, and I think they're just going to go into victory protect formation here and just go ahead and opt for that 0-0 score, and yes, they will. So no last-minute heroics from the Zionsville Eagles, and I guess not too unpredictably, after both sides have battled, this really has been the epitome of a seesaw battle here at St. Vincent Health Field, the home of the Zionsville Eagles. We're going to take a 20-minute halftime break. We'll get you some statistics. But yes, this game knotted up at 0-0 as the Zionsville Eagles on Eagle Day host the visiting Lafayette Jefferson Broncos. We'll be back for an exciting second half of football action here live on audiosportsonline.com.
Pretty good game.
That's a great game. His iPad filming the game. So did you grab the ball with it?
Yeah. I did some of this stuff in school. I worked for like camera lab and stuff like that back in.
I kind of had you pegged for a
Next, we'd like to welcome our Eagle Fest Talent Contest winner, Paige Elevante. Paige just moved here from Columbus, Ohio in May. He is a sixth grader at Zionsville Middle School. Paige has loved to act and entertain inside crowds since he was 4 years old. He hopes to make it on the big screen someday in Hollywood. For all of our Elvis fans, here's Paige Elevante.
yeah. Like a bear would keel over.
p.m. in the THC for College Exploration Night. Representatives from IU, Purdue, Butler, Ball State, and other Indiana colleges will be on hand, as well as financial aid advisors to help you prepare for the college upcoming expenses. Also, please check our daily announcements. This Friday will be the Club and College Fair on campus. Please be sure to stop through the fair and learn more about the activities going on at Zionsville Community High School. And this year we're anticipating more than 60 college visits to our guidance office. Please check the daily announcements for upcoming visits. This week, Purdue University will be on campus to share about their enrollment process and start you on your way to life as a Boilermaker. This year's Marching Eagles competition show is called The Sorcerer and the Swan. The show consists of original music inspired by the story and the music of Swan Lake. Tonight you will hear the first movement titled Transformation. Please note that an evil sorcerer has come out of the dark forest and has turned our color guard into a swan. The band is under the direction of drum majors Sadie Minnigan, Natalie Miller, Sam Miles, and Alex Long. Drum majors, is your band ready? Ladies and gentlemen, performing a portion of The Sorcerer and the Swan, the Marching Eagles.
gave the art department something to do for a semester. We need a bunch of paper mache trees, guys. Paint them brown.
I've always felt like I like the because you want certain excitement and drama on that. Yeah. They probably get handed some stuff that's just like, oh no. You want me to do what? I do think in this era of political correctness, and one of the props that they still use is that rifle, that white rifle with the, and they can, you're spinning a gun.
Just throwing it at me.
Throwing a gun around. I don't know why that just strikes me. It's like, and I'm not some ultra liberal guy. I'm just saying, it just strikes me as funny.
It's an odd symbol.
It is
under the
the
high
symbology.
school. Yeah. We know it's fake.
But just with all the
And same with sabers.
with all the drama associated with guns, it's just interesting.
Tossing around some weapons. You just gotta toss something.
Apparently you do. And the baton is too demanding.
They're not demanding enough.
You don't see as much just the flaming baton.
Yeah.
I'm gonna guess maybe some insurance company said,
Yeah.
no more flaming baton.
Maybe at a private school they can afford such things.
Schools like, man, forget that. We're doing flaming baton. If someone gets their hair caught on fire, I'm sorry, it's just worth it.
Yeah.
People pay good money to see the flaming baton.
We work hard for those oohs and ahs to get out of that crowd.
Right.
See, I'd be.
The trees, those might be being decommissioned for speed. Trees aren't working.
Seemed like a good idea.
We tried.
See, I'd like to see a marching band that's under the reign of some sort of half crazy, like Stanley Kubrick style.
It's like some tortured genius guy.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's like one part Kubrick, one part Fellini.
Yeah, we're gonna do this halftime show about the life of Oppenheimer, the father of the atomic bomb.
Everyone's out there with one side of their face completely painted black, the other side's completely painted white, and all the moves are real robotic and real odd.
Yeah.
The music is all like this,
Jarring.
Eastern German jarring dance.
Whenever you walk into his office, he's just got his hair twisted up in his hand. That would be great. What do you want?
And the parents just don't even understand that. But then they win, they win third place at the band competition at the state fair, and everyone goes, "Oh, I don't know.
Gets
Guess
results.
you better keep them." There's actually a perfect crowd for Zionsville. Perfect night for a game.
It kind of makes me kind of want to go to some of my own homes. It's an atmosphere that you really don't get anywhere else.
No, absolutely.
And we'd like to thank the Zionsville coaching staff for getting us some statistics for this game. Knotted up 0-0 after we saw both teams with a number of spirited drives, either end in a turnover on downs on 2 occasions for the Zionsville Eagles. But after a series of field goal attempts, including 2 blocked field goals and then a field goal that just went wide of the mark, the visiting Lafayette Jeff Broncos have 0 points. Overall, in the rushing department, Zionsville has rushed 13 times for 27 yards, 10 pass attempts with 6 completions, no interceptions, 51 total yards in the passing department. And we've talked a little bit about this. I'm here with Dan Wood for AudioSportsOnline.com. And we are seeing some good performance from Josh Hinkle. We just are not seeing Josh Hinkle find that right receiver at the right time. And so, unfortunately, Josh Hinkle unable to get any points here in the first half. On the other side of the ball, the Broncos rushed 19 times for 92 yards. 6 pass attempts, 4 completions, 0 interceptions, 21 passing, and that is 23 total offensive plays for Zionsville, 78 yards and 113 yards gained by the Broncos in the first half on 25 total offensive plays. So both teams have had an equal number of snaps or near equal number of snaps, and they find themselves 0-0. The Eagles will get the ball here first. They won the toss in the first half. They deferred. They kicked. They went on defense first, and we'll get a chance to see what type of offensive adjustments have been made by the Zionsville Eagles at halftime. So we're looking forward to a great second half of action here from St. Vincent Health Field. I'm Jay Baker, AudioSportsOnline.com. We are minutes away from the second half kickoff. An impressive crowd here tonight for the home opener for the Zionsville Eagles. It is Eagles Day here, and that means lots of fans and high attendance. The stands are full. I'd like to thank the Zionsville athletic staff for taking good care of us here this evening and accommodating our broadcast and also providing some delicious stadium food. And as you know, as a broadcaster, delicious stadium food is very important. It's the let's get ready to say the grease, but the food wasn't greasy, but it is kind of the grease on the wheels of broadcasting. Without good food, broadcasting itself would be impossible.
The lifeblood, so to speak.
It is the lifeblood. So the Broncos now, their kickers are out doing a little bit of practice, and it is tough. You know, I got to tell you, Dan, I always put this in perspective whenever we do high school sports. You know, these are high school kids, and, you know, we were so used to our sports heroes just stepping out onto the field and executing.
Right.
But I do question the Broncos' continued use of the kick. It seems like the kicking game came here very unpolished, and so I think the Broncos, unfortunately, are facing their 0-0 deadlock due to the fact that they just really could not execute that kicking game, and they actually had 3 field goal attempts, and none of them were successful.
We also saw in the first half 2 punts by the away team that left some to be desired. We had an off-target one the first time, and then we had a bit of a line drive straight to the defense the second time. So a bit of special teams work.
Yeah, I think there's some special teams work ahead for the Broncos. But of interest, the Eagles were not able to capitalize, despite the fact the Eagles in the first half had a couple of occasions where they had terrific field advantage. In fact, their very first offensive series took place right at their own 51, make that their own 50-yard line. At one point, the Eagles got the ball 1st and 10 on the visiting Broncos 32-yard line, and were unable to complete a scoring drive on that occasion. So the Eagles will get the ball first. Always interesting to see adjustments being made. And we were talking a little bit on the way over here, Dan, about the fact that the technology now is so much greater than we've seen in high school football even 10 years ago. And the ability to analyze review video and film. There's a great deal of technology tools available to coaching staff. So let's hope that the Eagles will be able to capitalize on that and have a successful second half here as we begin this 0-0 ball game with a kickoff from the Broncos. We also heard that the Eagles have been beset by injuries in the season, and that, of course, is always tough to overcome. So we'll see what the second half has in store for your Zionsville Eagles. The kick is up. It'll come down about the 20-yard line. One of the upbacks gets it. Running room out to the 40. He stays on his feet. Gets the ball past the midfield stripe. And what would have been a blocking back brings the ball up for the Eagles. On the run was Kyle Sheehan. Sheehan is listed as a running back. He certainly knew what to do when he got the ball, but a terrific run of some 40 yards, and that will put the ball inside Bronco territory. They're going to spot the ball at the 47-yard line. So a good start for your Zionsville Eagles here in the second half. Hinkle under center, back for a quick pass, rolls to his left. He's going to tuck the ball and keep it. He'll go out of bounds after picking up about 4 or 5 yards. One out of bounds close to the 40-yard line. They're going to spot the ball at the 43. A gain of 4 on the play. Second down and 6. That was Josh Hinkle on the carry. I formation, 2 wideouts for the Eagles. Hinkle, handoff to the fullback, tucks the ball, some tough yards just inside the 40-yard line. On the carry was Panola. Matt Panola, 6 foot, 221 pounds. Zionsville has a couple of Panolas. Matt is the football player, and his brother plays varsity basketball for the Eagles. That brings up a third down. Just shy of a 3rd and 2 here. The ball spotted at the 39-yard line. First drive of the second half for the Eagles. Hinkle. Long snap count. Handoff, and it's going to be close. Driving forward on the carry was Matt Kramer. So Kramer on the carry. Let's see where the spot is going to be. It looks like it is going to be 4th and a long 1 here. So a 4th down and about a yard to go. 4th and 1. The offensive unit stays out. So Hinkle once again brings him up. I formation, 2 wideouts. The quick pass, the swing pass, and it was broken up.
Up into the air there.
Yeah, you know, it's one of those things where it looks like it's going to be a turnover on downs anyway. It was kind of in and out of the hands of C.J. Annenbaum, and obviously film review would tell you whether that was a lateral or a forward pass, but a parallel pass quickly down the line from Josh Hinkle to Annenbaum, and it misfired, and unfortunately the Eagles, despite having early promise on a nice kickoff return, turned the ball over on downs. Again, that has been a story that unfortunately started in the first half. So the Broncos now, with their first possession, will take over at the 37-yard line. And the first play broken up in the backfield. Johnson on a quarterback keeper, and that was sniffed out very quickly by the Eagles, and they dropped him for a loss of 2. Ball back now on the 37-yard line. the Broncos. Matt Johnson, familiar formation for him, the shotgun formation with one back in the backfield. The handoff up the middle. That is Green. Green is stacked up. A gain of maybe 2, gets the ball back very close to the original line of scrimmage. And good defensive pressure being applied there by Joe Lupinski. So that will set up a 3rd and 9. They're going to spot the ball just past the 39-yard line. So a key 3rd down now for the Broncos, as they are facing a long 3rd down in their first possession of the second half. Matt Johnson awaits the snap, repositions his slot back. Johnson on the keeper, gets some running room outside, is quickly stacked up after about a 4-yard gain. He'll get the ball down to about the 44-yard line and no further. That'll bring up a 4th down. So the Eagles hold, and it does look like there will be a punt here from the Broncos. So the Broncos punter is out on the field. He'll kick from his own 32-yard line. This time a solid punt that comes down inside the 20. Gets that to the 35, the 40, stays on his feet. And a great block thrown as Ben Koger brings the ball back to the 40-yard line. So Koger, with a 22-yard return, gives the Eagles 1st and 10 at their own 40. And that murmur you heard was the great block thrown to spring Koger on that run. So Zionsville will begin on their own 40-yard line. 8 minutes to go here in the 3rd period. Hinkle back to pass. He's going to have some time, even though he got chased out of the pocket, and the ball was intercepted. Are they going to say it's caught? Yes, they are. 1st down going back the other way as Dennis Archibald caught a pass that was intended for C.J. Annenbaum. And just like that, the first interception of the game gets thrown, and the Eagles' offense will have a seat. First turnover of the game from Josh Hinkle, and it'll be 1st and 10 going back the other way for the Broncos.
And we really haven't seen either team really go through the air all that much, which is
no. Both teams have been very conservative. Matt Johnson's had a little more success. Matt Johnson with the late pitch to Green. Green with some running room, and he gets stacked up and brought down. A nice open field tackle to prevent further progress from Green. Getting up from the bottom of the pile, I believe that was Jake Minuski. And even the stadium announcer is looking now. I think it was Minuski that brought him down, but we'll see. Minuski holds him to just a 2-yard gain, and it'll bring up a 2nd and 8. That was a nice tackle, especially Green, as he's been just tough for the Broncos through the years, even though the Broncos have had some up-and-down teams. Darian Green has been a very effective runner. Johnson. Oh, and they're going to get him for motion and or illegal procedure, as plenty of movement there from the Broncos offense.
Yep.
And they'll march that back 5 yards, so that'll bring up a 2nd and 13 now. The ball goes all the way back to the 37-yard line.
At the end of the first half, we saw Zionsville's ability to blitz the quarterback, but we also saw Matt Johnson's ability to evade the blitz.
Yeah, absolutely. Johnson, very athletic. Johnson back in the pistol, awaits the snap. Once again, motion, but no flag. Johnson is flush from the pocket. He's going to tuck the ball and run. He's out to the 40, the 45, gets past midfield, and punishes the Eagle defender. In fact, up to make the tackle as they made big contact was Joe Lipinski. And Matt Johnson showed how tough he can be as he ends up running for a first down, puts the ball in Eagles territory. But Lipinski got a faceful of the quarterback from the Broncos. Both players kind of standing there like prize fighters after that exchange. But it is first down for the Broncos, and they'll spot the ball on the Eagles' 47-yard line. So the Broncos, their second possession of the second half, their first possession ended in a punt. The handoff to Green. Green tries to get outside, gets some room, gets into the secondary, and gets hauled down after a close to 10-yard gain. On the stop was Stephen Dam. And depending on the spot here, that could be another first down for the Broncos. And that is going to be a first down. They're going to spot the ball at the Eagles' 37-yard line. So a pair of back-to-back first downs put the Broncos in business. They're at the 37-yard line of the Eagles. Matt Johnson with Green in the backfield. Two wide receivers and a slot back. Green with the delayed handoff. He gets stopped, spins out of it, manages to get back to the original line of scrimmage, but some great pressure in the backfield. He spun away from Ryan Teague. And you'll love this. I talked to Ryan Teague's mom at halftime.
That's right. Yeah.
Ryan Teague's mom and I used to work together. And the Teague family's building a house. So, these are the kinds of things. Football fun facts. People love them. That brings up a second down as Green was able to get back to the original line of scrimmage. So second down and 10. That's a football fun fact right there, yeah.
More of a Teague family update.
That's more of a Teague family update.
Oh,
the pitch, and it goes nowhere. The Eagles pick it up on the fly, and almost scoring. I'm sure in his dreams he got hauled down by Green, but a tremendous snare of an errant pitch. And I didn't catch who picked up that ball. I believe that was Joe Banks. Wow, great play. And just like that, the Eagles get back into business. That was Matt Johnson pitching the ball to no one. That pitch ended up on the turf and in the hands of an Eagle. And the Zionsville Eagles will be 1st and 10 at the Bronco 35-yard line. Handoff up the middle, gets some running room, cuts back.
Fantastic.
Another great run, and he holds on to the ball. That was a tremendous run on the play from Matt Kramer. Kramer's been an effective weapon here as Zionsville gets a first down after starting on the Bronco 35-yard line.
Very agile display of skill there.
Yeah, Kramer is a tough customer. And Kramer gives the Eagles their first down as they are close to the Broncos' red zone as Hinkle now under center, I formation behind him with two wideouts. Hinkle with the handoff once again to Kramer. Nice hole up the middle. And Kramer powers forward for a gain of 3 or 4, depending on the spot. They're going to spot the ball right at the 20-yard line. So they're going to give him only 2 yards on the gain, but a nice power run there. 2nd down and 8. The ball is in the Broncos' red zone. Hinkle with one back in the backfield. Puts a man in motion. The pitch. Over right end. Had some running room. Once again, that was Kramer. They're going to put the spot right about the 16-yard line. That'll bring up a 3rd and 4. The Eagles have found themselves in this position before, where they have driven the ball down, gone for it on 4th down. So let's see if they can convert on 3rd down. give their team 4 more tries here in the Broncos' red zone. 2 backs in the backfield, power I right behind Hinkle under center. Hinkle, the handoff once again to Kramer. Kramer gets some running room, pushes forward, and I think he may be about a yard shy of the first down. They're going to spot the ball. It'll be 4th and 1. So a 4th and 1 for Hinkle and company.
And if recent history has taught us anything, of course, they'll be going for it.
They will go for it on 4th and 1. And there is a very tall man at left tackle, Josh Dunlap, 6'6", 273. The handoff up the middle. He breaks 3, stays on his feet. Is that a touchdown? It is. Zionsville Eagles right up the middle. That's the medicine this team needed. And the Eagles score first in this game. A tremendous run right up the middle. On the carry, I believe that was Cole Went. It was such a quick handoff. Went stayed on his feet, surged up the middle, and a tremendous balancing act at the end to keep his knee off the turf and score that first touchdown for the Eagles. Eagles are having to call a timeout here. It looks like there is a bit of a mix-up on special teams here as they are looking to either go for 2 or kick, and I'm not sure if somehow that decision wasn't made ahead of time. One coach is very frustrated right now. 2 minutes and 51 seconds on the scoreboard. Eagles draw first blood, 6-0 here. So the Eagles forced into a timeout here following their successful touchdown. And we see choppers.
That's right.
The last chopper we saw was from Channel 13 for their Operation Football. And I don't know, this might be, no, this is still back to the Channel 13 chopper. I was going to say, Channel 8 throws its chopper into action as well on Friday nights. And I heard several sportscasters today. We don't have major college football starting just yet. We're still in pro preseason. So this, my friends, the first big Friday night of high school football, always a good night in Central Indiana. It lets you know the fall is around the corner and football is back. It's a good feeling. So, yeah, it's kind of cool when the television stations come out. And I think the chopper pilots were told not to land on the field during the game. That's
right.
the new guideline.
Right. Yep.
Because, there's always some Weisenheimer that, tries to land during the game. So the Eagles do go out. They will try for 2. 1 back in the backfield, tight formation, Hinkle under center. The handoff up the middle. He's going to get stacked up, and it's going to be no good. So Went, following his score, goes in for the extra point, and unfortunately the extra point was no good. But we do have a score in this game, and the Zionsville Eagles draw first blood, some happy faces. I'd have to say some relieved faces as we have 2:51 left to go here in period number 3, and that Broncos score came following the Eagles score came following a Broncos turnover, and that turnover, of course, occurred right after a Zionsville turnover. So both teams exchanged turnovers. The Eagles turnover, fortunately, did not hurt them. The Broncos turnover resulted in 6 points on the board for the Eagles. So the Eagles now, with some renewed vigor on the sidelines, they will kick off. Connor Drake will kick for the Eagles. And Drake's squib kick Finally retrieved about the 20-yard line. Not much running room. Some tremendous collisions, and now just breaking through that defensive front on the carry was Irving Madden, and Irving gives him a decent return, approximately 19-yard return. They're going to spot the ball close to the 40-yard line. You can tell no love lost there. Big collisions from the Eagles and the Broncos in that return. So the Broncos now will try a score of their own as they start out at their own 41-yard line. Their previous offensive series ended with a fumble as their quarterback tried to pitch the ball and was unsuccessful. Matt Johnson hands off to Green. Green up the middle and was tripped up on the play. That was Nick Maines. Maines has been all over, the senior defensive end. Maines, tall, rangy, but very athletic, 6 foot, 206 pounds. Gain of 2 on the play. It'll bring up 2nd and 8. The ball is resting at the 43-yard line. Johnson rolls to his left, gets flushed from the pocket. This time he's going to be sacked. And once again, we call the number of Nick Maines. Maines, who's been applying the pressure all night, this time close the deal. That's the first sack. Make that the second sack of Johnson tonight, but that loss of 9 and that Nick Maines sack came at an opportune moment as this defense now gets inspired by an offensive score and will set up a third and very long, a 3rd and 18. So the ball is spotted back at the 34-yard line. So a long 3rd down for Johnson and company. Johnson back to pass. Has some time. This time, quarterback keeper tucks the ball and runs. He's going to be curtailed once again by Nick Maines. Maines stays home in his defensive back position, and despite a 5-yard gain, manages to put Johnson on his back, and that will bring up a 4th down. 4th down and about 13. 4th down and about 13. So even though he was able to gain 5 yards, Maines was there. Actually, the rest of the defense could have sat down because Maines has made all the plays following that score. The Broncos punter from his own 26-yard line. Kick is up. Koger inside the 28. Koger out to the 30, the 35, gets a block, set at the 40, the 50, flag on the play. I believe there was a block to the back close to midfield, so Koger's very nice 26-yard return, I think, is going to be nullified as a flag lies on the ground at about the Eagle 46-yard line. The officials discussing it right now. You know, back in the day, they'd always say it was a clip. But now they usually go block to the back.
In the back. Same
net result, just clip sounds like you did it maliciously. Block to the back sounds like you did it by accident.
Right.
But, yeah, block to the back it is, and they'll mark it from the point of the foul itself. So they'll discuss this with the Broncos captain. But the net result is, instead of a nice return inside Broncos territory, in fact, even inside their own 40-yard line, it will be 1st and 10 for the Eagles at about their own 30, depending on where the ball eventually comes back to. And it is going back quite a ways. Looks like it's going all the way back to the 20-yard line. So a 20-yard start, 1st and 10 for the Eagles. So the block in the back nullifies a good return, puts the ball all the way back to the 20-yard line where Hinkle will go to work with 2 wideouts and an I formation. Less than 30 seconds to go here in the 3rd period. The Eagles are up 6-0. The handoff up the middle and goes nowhere. On the carry was Kramer. Kramer with a loss of about a yard. It'll bring up 2nd and 11. And that looks like that'll be the final play of the third period. Kramer's 1 yard loss. And we go into the final frame here at St. Vincent Health Field, the home of your Zionsville Eagles, with the Eagles up by a score of 6-0. An eventful game. A Zionsville score following a Bronco turnover, followed by a turnover of their very own. So Zionsville coughed up the ball on the interception. The Broncos fumbled the ball away. The Eagles are able to capitalize, bringing the ball in from the Bronco 35-yard line. A Went score on about an 8-yard run right up the middle. Got tripped up, stayed on his feet, lands in the end zone. Net result, 6 points for the Eagles. Eagles go for it. 2-point conversion fails. And I'm wondering, and I'm just wondering out loud, because I know they've had some penalties. We haven't seen Zionsville play this year. But I'm wondering if Zionsville is struggling with who their place kicker is going to be, what his position is going to be with this team, because that is obviously place kicker, you could take the average guy and teach him how to kick a ball.
Right.
It's hard to take the average guy, teach him how to kick the ball with the game on the line, or with 11 very angry defensive linemen coming at you.
And now we've had 3 or 4 different occasions. We've had the 2-point conversion that ended up being failed, and we've had the punts foregone for fourth down attempts. So I think you're right.
Yeah, I think something's going on with the Zionsville kicking game that we're not privy to. Handoff, up the middle, lots of flags fly, so let's see what the penalty is going to be as the Zionsville runner manages to get across the 20-yard line. That was Kramer on the carry. And let's see what the penalty is going to be. They're going to say that Kramer's face mask was touched in an inappropriate fashion, and that will result in extra yards being tacked on. So Kramer, who has been the workhorse for this Zionsville High School varsity football team, a short game, but the face mask penalty being marched off now will bring the ball out to the 36-yard line for the Eagles. So Zionsville, who had to start this drive on their own 20-yard line due to a block in the back penalty on the kickoff return, now sets up 1st and 10 in the opening moments here of the final quarter of the game. Hinkle under center, the pitch, the spin, and gets the ball down to about the 39-yard line. On the carry was Cole Went.
We have another flag now.
And Went is tough guy. Drug a couple of white jerseys with him. Once again, a flag is on the field, and this time a hold against the Eagles. So the Eagles faced with a penalty here that will nullify the game. Went was able to pick up about 4 yards on the carry. They'll bring the ball back now. After they march this off, the ball back to the 29-yard line. It will bring up a 1st down at about 7, looks like. So they retain the 1st down, but they pick up some additional yards to overcome. So the Eagles now, 1st and long. Hinkle under center, rolls to his right, looks for a receiver, and once again hits a very reliable target. That was C.J. Annenbaum. They're going to spot the ball at the 41-yard line. That'll bring up a 2nd and 5. Well, we talked about the fact that, neither team has really aired it out much. And prior to that interception being thrown by Josh Hinkle, Zionsville was 6 of 10. So he'd completed 60% of his passes, just not for very long, only 51 yards passing in the first half. The handoff up the middle and running low and to the ground with effectiveness. That's Kramer. And Kramer, I believe, just gave him a first down. Well, they're going to say that his knee went down at the 45-yard line, so it'll bring up a 3rd and 1. But Kramer has been a workhorse inside.
And really, the lack of passing this early on in the season for a high school team is understandable. We've seen both teams punished for throwing the ball around rather irresponsibly.
Oh,
already.
yes. Yeah, you don't want to just toss the ball up for grabs. And with the speed of the Broncos, an interception could be disastrous. So a 3rd and 1 here. The ball at the Eagles' 45-yard line. Long snap count. Handoff. The up back. He spins. It's Kramer. How about Kramer? Some tough yards inside. Hall's Broncos defenders with him. Actually, that was Matt Panola. So I thought that was Kramer for a second, but that was Matty Panola.
I thought it looked a little big for Kramer.
Yeah, his brother Scott Panola is on the varsity basketball team. And the football playing Panola gives him a 1st and 10 at the 40-yard line. So a great gain there. Gets the Eagles out of a 3rd down jam. And they get another set of downs as Hinkle will be under center with the I formation right behind him. 2 wideouts. Hinkle with the pitch. That was Kramer with about a 4-yard gain. Gets the ball down to the Bronco 36-yard line.
We're really seeing the Eagles pick up a nice rhythm here, getting down the field, play after play.
Yeah, and not only would we like to see a nice rhythm from them, at this stage, using up a lot of clock, even if this particular drive does not end in a score, would be a good, some real help for this hometown crowd that has come out here to cheer the Eagles on. Hinkle, I formation, 2 wideouts. The handoff to the up back. And that was Kramer once again, cradling that football. Now make that Panola again. Panola cradling that football and running with effectiveness. They've been running Panola out of the fullback position of the I, and he has been tough inside, big and strong. Panola will set them up now with a 3rd and about 3.5. The ball is spotted just inside the 34-yard line of the Broncos. The clock ticks at 8:47 left to go in this ball game. The Eagles are ahead 6-0. Hinkle with the handoff. Kramer this time. Kramer spins out of a tackle. Gets the ball down to close to the 39-yard line. That'll set up about a 4th and 1 as Kramer was able to stay on his feet despite contact at the point of attack. And Kramer with a nice run. It'll be a 4th and 1. No question, of course, that the Eagles' offense will stay on the field. Even if they were to turn the ball over here, there'd still be 70 yards between that ball placement and a Broncos scoring touchdown or make that a tying touchdown. Hinkle under center, tight formation. The pitch to Kramer. Kramer hits the hole. Kramer gets the first down easily, and now they're saying was the ball loose? Both teams indicating that they have the ball. Let's see here.
Seems to always be the case, doesn't it?
Kramer came down very awkwardly from this angle, but I believe he will retain possession. Some of the Broncos players are a bit optimistic that they have the ball. The officials call a timeout. Now they're going to say the Eagles kept the ball, but did they get a first down as Kramer came down somewhat awkwardly? And this is going to be close enough that they're going to measure. And I believe they missed, and this is close.
Wow.
I mean, this literally maybe a half inch. Awfully, awfully close. And on 4th down, it's going to be a turnover. First down, yeah. And that was about as close as you're going to see in a high school football game. Heartbreaking as Kramer a bit awkwardly there. And I do think the Broncos punched the ball out, and he did, and was smart enough to try to protect the ball. Net result is, so unfortunately, a turnover on downs. But we did say that one of the things that Zionsville needed to do was use up some clock, and at least if they did turn the ball over, force the Broncos now to go 70 yards for a tying score. 7:46 on the scoreboard clock left in this game, and the Broncos now faced with an uphill struggle to try and tie this ball game. As Zionsville charged up on the sidelines. A little bit of razzle-dazzle. The flea flicker. They have an open receiver, and they overthrew him. Matt Johnson with the flea flicker tried to get it down to Austin Albrecht, and Austin Albrecht was open. Albrecht had run past the safety for Zionsville. And Johnson showing that he's got a strong arm, but not an accurate arm on that particular play as they froze the Zionsville secondary with a little bit of razzle-dazzle. They handed off to Green. Green tossed it back. Unfortunately, Johnson not able to hit his receiver. Johnson back to work, pistol formation with 3 wideouts. Johnson, delayed pitch to Green. Green tries to find some running room around the left-hand side. Was met with a number of green jerseys. In on the tackle was Ryan Teague and about 3 other Zionsville Eagle players. They're going to hold him to a 2-yard gain. It'll be 3rd now and a long 7. Actually, they're calling it an 8. They've got to get down inside or just past their own 40-yard line for a 4th down or for a first down. As the Broncos now faced with a long 3rd down, 6:57, and the clock ticks. Hometown crowd imploring that defense to hold tough as Matt Johnson lines up in the pistol formation. 3 wideouts. Long snap count. They finally put a man in motion, and they're going to get called for a procedure penalty. What happened was he called for motion after his receiver got set, and that does result in an illegal procedure penalty. So instead now of a 3rd and 8, they'll be looking at a 3rd and 13. So now the ball moves inside the 30 down to the 28-yard line. And now an even tougher struggle for the Broncos. Yeah, Johnson called for motion after his receiver had been set. Johnson, play action, back, gets flushed out of the pocket. This time he's going to be sacked. Johnson tried to woo him, tried to dance, couldn't get out of the way, and Maines and about 2 other Eagles were back there to put him on the ground. How about Maines tonight, who has just been absolutely amazing? Also, Trewartha was back there, and Trewartha has been a force of nature. 6'1", 235 pounds, and athletic. These are big players with lots of skills. And the Eagles are going to force the Broncos to punt. They'll be punting from their own 1-yard line. Punt was partially blocked. The Eagles catch it on the fly, and the Eagles are going to be having excellent field position inside the Bronco 15-yard line. What's the old saying? When it rains, it pours, and the Broncos, beset by bad luck here in the second half, the partially blocked punt. The old rule of thumb is anytime you're kicking deep inside your own territory, a lot of things can go wrong. Well, just about everything went wrong on that play. And the Eagles now set up 1st and 10 with their best field position of the evening. They've already got 6 points on the board. They could put this game away with another score because this has been a defensive chess match of a game. 1st and 10 on the Broncos' 13-yard line. Hinkle under center, I formation. Hinkle with the pitch. Once again, that is Kramer. Kramer staying on his feet, battling down to the 10-yard line. They're going to give Kramer a gain of about 3 on that play.
That was the second block we saw from Zionsville's special teams defense.
Oh, yeah. We're seeing some good special teams play from the Eagles tonight. And we talked about this, the Broncos in a bit of disarray on their special teams. And, the special teams have certainly changed the complexion of this game now as the Eagles knocking on the door at the Broncos' 10-yard line, 2nd and 7. Hinkle now with the handoff. Behind some good blocking. They're going to throw the penalty flag. I think there might have been another face mask as Matt Panola powers forward close to the 5-yard line. Let's see what the call is. Face mask on Panola as Panola was fighting the entire Broncos defense, powers down inside the 5-yard line. And, Panola moving a lot like the bus for the Steelers here tonight. Just doing a great job tearing up that Broncos defense. And, part of the problem is the Broncos just flat are getting tired here tonight. The defense getting battered. Good point of attack blocking from the Zionsville Eagles. And they're discussing exactly where the ball should go. I believe at this point, since he got to the 6-yard line, they'll probably spot the ball half the distance to the goal from there. And it should be a 1st and goal, depending here on the total ruling. Now with the position of the chains, looks like it'll be 2nd and 1 with the ball spotted on the 3-yard line. I think they're going to measure to make sure on this one. The foul occurred at about the 6-yard line. So the ball spotted on the 3 makes some good sense. I think what they're going to do here is see if it's 2nd and some yardage or if it's 1st and goal for the Zionsville Eagles, and it's going to be 1st and goal. So see, me saying 1st and goal, that makes it sound like now I could really see. Bottom line is it's really hard to gauge from here. But that face mask call on Scott Panola, or actually on, keep wanting to call him Scott Panola now, Matt Panola. That's what happens when you call Zionsville basketball games. You start getting Panola on the mind.
Mix up your
But
Panolas.
Matty did a heck of a job for the Eagles, gets him a 1st and goal at the 3-yard line, and the Eagles should be able to batter it in from here with 4:41 on the scoreboard clock, and they're leading 6-0 here in the final frame of this Zionsville Eagle home opener. So Hinkle, timeout called. Hinkle brought him up to the line. Panola remains in as the tailback, and blocking for Panola is Nick Maines. Maines has been all over the field here defensively. Maines listed at 6 foot, 206 pounds, a wide receiver and defensive end, and he's in as a blocker here in the I formation as they are close to a score. Easy to say that this game would be put out of reach if the Eagles should score here, but there has been such a lack of scoring, literally from both teams, that a score here I think would be a disaster for the Broncos here on the road. So Zionsville, 1st and goal from their own 3-yard line. Long snap count from Hinkle, trying to draw him off sides. The pitch to Panola. Panola stays on his feet, and Panola battles down to within the 1-yard line, just barely kept out of the end zone by a sea of white jerseys. They'll spot it at the 1, but boy, that was a very close and very tough run from Matt Panola, the junior running back. Put the ball on the 1-yard line. Obviously, the methodical huddle to use as much time as possible. The clock ticks at 3:37. The clock ticks down as the Eagles now are 2nd and goal on the Bronco 1-yard line. Hinkle with the I formation. The handoff to the up back.
That's it.
And that's a touchdown. The up back this time around, Matt Panola. And fitting that Panola got them to where they were at and then puts the points on the board.
And as you said earlier, I think the Broncos.
Now they're saying Maines was on the carry. So the 3, the 8, the 7, they seem similar to here. So my apologies to Maines fans. Maines did a great job defensively to get them where they're at, and thought that was Panola for a second, but it was Maines scoring. And Maines adds the second touchdown as the Eagles now will go for 2. Hinkle under center with the I formation. On the quarterback keeper, he's going to have room. And just like that, Josh Hinkle puts 2 points on the board, and the Eagles go ahead by a score of 14-0. Just like that, they were keying on those inside runs, and the so-called belly play, the fake handoff up the middle, and the end around, and quarterback Josh Hinkle gets in the end zone, giving the Eagles now a 14-0 lead with only 3:22 left in this game. Hometown crowd breathes a sigh of relief as the Broncos will get at least one more try offensively. But the Broncos obviously have time against them, and neither team has been able to get the ball downfield in what you would say a very quick manner. And that Zionsville defense obviously will be very inspired here to finish this game off.
I think the story we have with the Broncos defense is a team that's just tired. As you said, we've been going back and forth throughout.
That's actually a great point. Yeah, I just think the Broncos D has just looked tired these last 2 Eagle possessions, and they are starting to pay the price for that right now. So the Zionsville Eagles find themselves in the position of finishing this one out as they will kick back to the Broncos. Connor Drake will put the ball in play. Squib kick will come down around the 15-yard line. And trying to find some running room, and maybe a gain of about 7 or 8. The ball will be inside the 30-yard line. As the Broncos now will attempt to get back at least one of these touchdowns. They're going to spot it on the 28. Perfect evening for football. Lights are on here at the St. Vincent Health Eagles field. Home opener for the Zionsville Eagles as they lead here with 3 minutes, 14 seconds left in the final period by a score of 14-0. Empty backfield. And the sack. And we've mentioned him several times here tonight, Trewartha. Trewartha with several hurries tonight and a sack to add of his own as Matt Johnson goes to the turf. Lost about 8 yards on the play. They're going to spot the ball all the way back to the 21-yard line.
Matt Johnson getting some instructions from the sideline.
Yes. Matt Johnson's going to wake up sore tomorrow, and he's a young guy, so it just shows you the abuse that's been dealt out here tonight by the Eagles defense. Overloaded to the right-hand side. They get the ball out to Green, and boy, that play was sniffed out in a hurry. Great defensive pressure there from Joe Lipinski, who dropped Green for a very short gain. They only got the ball out to the 21-yard line. That'll set up a long third down here. Third down and about 16 yards for the Broncos. They're stalled back at their own 21-yard line. The one thing that's inexorable is the clock, which just continues to tick. We're at the 2-minute mark. Matt Johnson will go into empty backfield, or make that empty backfield, shotgun, and gets dropped. Some good pursuit on the play. Good move there from Riley Porfchak. And Porfchak drops him after a 1-yard gain. So technically a sack on the play as Matt Johnson dropped. Well, I take that back. A 1-yard gain. So technically a rush there from Johnson, but only a 1-yard gain. And that will bring out the punter for the Broncos.
Rotors on the newscopter spinning up. They must have another game to go to.
That's right. They have a series of games to go here tonight as we have football back in town throughout central Indiana. The kick is up, fielded inside the 40-yard line. Eagles bring it up to their own 45, and they'll have another set of downs, 1st and 10. And the Eagles now really pretty much just have to run the clock out as they are leading by a score of 14-0 with 1:05. All that's left in this one is a few snaps, and the Eagles will be able to return to the locker room victorious in their home opener. And today was Eagle Day. Now, I'm not sure what all that entails because I don't get up to Zionsville enough, Dan, but I know that a lot of green T-shirts are being worn by the crowd. And green's my favorite color. I wish I'd gotten up here just a little bit sooner. I'd be wearing a green T-shirt. Hinkle under center, I formation. Hinkle with the long snap count. The handoff to Kramer. Kramer will be spun to the ground. He lost about 4 or 5 on the play. Lost 4 or 5 yards and his helmet. But, Kramer seems happy, as well he should be. He did a great job here tonight. Matt Kramer, 5'7", 160 pounds. And the Broncos do call a timeout. Now, see, I don't know how many games you get a chance to watch, Dan, but you got to appreciate the timeout. They're still fighting.
Oh, yeah.
It's not over until the final 0-0 clicks up. Eagles will have to breathe a sigh of relief here tonight. I think the Eagles have a very talented squad. They just had some trouble getting on track here tonight. That's not uncommon in your very first game of the season. The Broncos certainly have some team speed, which we knew about, and some good offensive weapons, and a potent offensive line. Some of those guys are certainly collegiate size.
Absolutely. If perhaps a bit slow, they found it a bit difficult to keep up with the blitz.
Yeah, I think so.
Of the Eagles this evening.
The Eagles threw a lot at them defensively, and we certainly saw Matt Johnson, the Bronco quarterback, running for his life on more than one occasion.
But to his credit, successfully a few times.
I'll tell you what, he kind of Andrew Lucked a couple plays there, didn't he?
Uh-huh.
As Hinkle now will be under center. In the background, the Channel 13 chopper leaves the stadium. I formation, 2nd down and a long 15 for the Eagles. The handoff up the middle. Once again, a swarm of white jerseys. The Broncos, do they have a timeout?
Clock stopped.
Yes, they do. So that is one timeout left for the Broncos, who now the clock ticks down to 50.8 seconds. No gain on the play, so it'll be 3rd and 15 for the Eagles. And once again, I think the Eagles with some special team woes here, but you figure one more snap and then the what would be preferable, the out-of-bounds punt. Hopefully there's somebody on the team that knows how to punt.
If they have a punter, yeah.
Well, I believe that Josh Hinkle has been their punter, and he's actually pretty athletic. So I think it's like the nice thing that we've seen several teams in this conference have quarterback punters because it gives you that versatility that if you do want to execute the fake punt, you have someone back there that has some pretty competent ball handling skills. So a 3rd and 15. One more timeout available to the Broncos. Clock is ticked to just a little bit over 50 seconds here. I formation, 2 wideouts for Hinkle. Hinkle, the handoff, finding some running room. That is Kramer. Kramer will get the ball out to about the 45-yard line. And is the timeout called? Yes, it was. So the final timeout being taken by the visiting Lafayette Jefferson Broncos. And the Broncos, unfortunately, tonight will have a long trip home. We talked a little bit about this. You know, it's tough, this particular conference, with teams playing in Central Indiana as well as Lafayette and West Lafayette, for the visiting crowd to really kind of, there's probably, 30 to maybe 35 people on the visiting side, and so it's been a little bit tough to get that crowd behind you.
It is a long haul.
It is, and especially rush hour traffic, and families are pretty busy, but it's a little bit too bad that there's not enough fans. So the Eagles now will go into the victory protect formation. Hinkle will take the snap and take a knee here. Oh, no, they are going to punt. I take that. I'm sorry about that. Hinkle will take the ball, will punt it, a good punt, which will come to rest right about the 25-yard line. And the Broncos will get one final touch here with 36.6 seconds. Of course, any good football analyst at this point would run several permutations about how the Broncos could miraculously pull off a victory here. Suffice to say that even I, who struggled with the most rudimentary of math, knows that you'd have to score at least 2 touchdowns.
It's very good, Jay.
Then you'd have to have the proper amount of extra points. Now, a victory, of course, is possible, but being the Vegas man that I am is now highly improbable at this point. But the Broncos have certainly gone down swinging here in the second half as Matt Johnson brings them up to the line, empty backfield. 5 wide receivers set. He's going to tuck the ball and run with it. Gets the ball out to about the 35-yard line where he's hauled to the ground. On the tackle was Blake Koger. So Coker brings him to the ground. That will be enough for a first down. The clock does stop while they move the chains, so the Broncos are up to the line and ready to go. Once again, empty backfield set. Clock starts. Ball will be snapped. He's back, and a great defensive play there as they tried to dump the ball off to Darian Green, but on the play, arriving at the same time the ball did, was Joe Lupinski. And Lupinski has played with some reckless abandon here tonight. Lupinski, 6'1", 163 pounds, a senior defensive back. And there are certain positions where you just go, that's athleticism, and Lupinski's got it. To throw yourself with reckless abandon into plays like that is not something that everybody can do. So Lupinski has had a very good game here tonight. 21 seconds. Back to pass. The Broncos, once again, flush from the pocket. And he could go all the way. A broken field run, and this could be a score, and it is. Just like that, Matt Johnson on a quarterback keeper play goes all the way. The Eagles in a prevent mode.
So do you have a few more hypothetical situations to add to your
Well, this does add
list?
to the list of hypotheticals. Yeah. Yes, but with no timeouts and with 8 seconds left, while it is unlikely, it's not impossible.
I bought a Powerball ticket last week. I mean,
I got to tell you, this could have the same outcome. Though, really, for the effective outcome to be like Powerball would be that one woman in New Jersey bought the ticket, not the Broncos. So let's see what happens here as the Broncos will hopefully put the 7th point on the board here with their extra point try. And their kicking game's been a little touchy here tonight, so this is not a given. Ball is down, kick is up, and somewhat surprisingly, kick is good. So the score now 14-7, and the Eagles will get the ball. Do you suspect that an assistant coach may tell the receiving team to be very, very careful with this kickoff?
Of course.
We want to review the rules that once the ball travels 10 yards, it's in play. And if the ball comes to you, while it would be heroic to grab it and try to run into the end zone, might be far better to cover it up very carefully and lay on top of it. But we'll see what happens here, as we were a bit surprised by a quarterback keeper from quarterback Matt Johnson. Johnson gets it in the end zone and does manage to cut into this Eagles lead. 8.2 seconds on the clock. The Eagles hoping to get out of here with a victory, but of course it wouldn't be a satisfying a victory without at least a tiny close call there at the end.
Why not?
Add a little excitement to the proceedings here tonight, as undoubtedly an onside kick will be attempted here by the Broncos. The Broncos, who have had some special teams woes here tonight with a number of missed opportunities, are going to attempt an onside kick, as the Zionsville hands team is awaiting the ball. Nick Maines is out there. Maines, who has been who contributed the second touchdown of the game for the Eagles. Kicker approaches the ball. The ball does go the requisite 10 yards, and the Eagles wisely cover the ball up and bring it down. Something that our Colts were not able to do in the second half of their second Super Bowl. So that's a relief for the Eagles now, who now only need to take one more snap to seal the victory. So they went ahead by a score of 14-0, and while in prevent defense, allowed one more score from the Broncos. Broncos were gamers here tonight. They called the timeouts. They did everything that they could. Yeah. And this Zionsville Eagles squad has been tough here tonight.
And honestly, now with the Broncos touchdown, a scoreline that really more accurately reflects
might as well.
The football game that we've seen.
We had a 0-0 game for the longest time, and that certainly, I think, was indicative of both teams, working against the other team. So this has been a hard-fought battle, and the Eagles will go out of here with one more snap and a victory as the team gets into the victory formation. Hinkle takes a knee, and this home crowd ecstatic and relieved all at the same time as the Eagles and Broncos players embrace at the 50-yard line, and the Eagles will leave their home opener on a very happy note. Eagle Day here in Zionsville, and the Eagles prevail by a score of 14-7 over the visiting Lafayette Jefferson Broncos. Back to the drawing board for both teams. We'll be, of course, covering Zionsville High School on audiosportsonline.com. For Dan Wood, I'm Jay Baker. You have a very pleasant evening.